That's the one. That's the one, Bop. It's all in the same compilation. You got it.
Welcome to Leaping Larry's Revolutionary Reading Theatre.
Right. You all ready to do some reading here? You don't have to do the reading. Larry's gonna do the reading. Oh god, Bop. That's on Netflix? Yeah, I'm not gonna. I probably doesn't sound like something I want to watch, honestly. But we've been working away here through On the Juche Philosophy, which is a compilation work of a bunch of different works. We just finished off yesterday on the Juche idea. Now today we are starting the next book in this work, which is on some problems of the ideological foundation of socialism. It was a speech given to senior officials of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea by Comrade Kim Jong-il on May 30th, 1990. Recently, the imperialists are getting more and more frantic in their attempt to frustrate socialism. In step with their unprecedented intensification of anti-socialist machinations, various trends of thought which distort and deny the ideal of socialism are appearing. These anti-socialist trends have worn out the socialist system in some countries and made their societies capitalistic, giving rise to grave consequences in these countries. Such developments have been witnessed mainly in the countries which failed to maintain the revolutionary principles of the working class, and which failed to formulate lines and policies creatively in conformity with the changing situations, even though some have asserted that they were guided by Marxism and Leninism. The countries that maintain independence are adhering to the revolutionary principles of the working class and advancing as ever along the road of socialism. They have applied Marxism Leninism creatively in accordance with their actual situation and have not followed others blindly, no matter what other people did. Socialism is a society which is based on the revolutionary ideology of the working class. Its development is guaranteed by scientific accuracy, revolutionary character, and a realistic expression of ideology and theory on which it is based. In order to defend and develop socialism in its fierce struggle against enemies of all hues, we must further develop the revolutionary ideology and theory of the working class and make them perfect as required by the times and the developing revolution. As we have the Juche idea, we have solved with credit the problem of consolidating the ideological foundation of socialism. If we had not the Juche idea, or had we blindly followed others, we would not have been able to build our unique form of socialism, which is the most advantageous in the world. Our socialism, which applies the Juche idea, is the most politically stable in the world, and all aspects of life in it are full of vigor. As it is based on the Juche idea, it is confidently marching along the road of victory, without facilitation, in the face of every kinds of pressure, slander from imperialists and reactionaries. People's support for and trust in our socialism are unshakable. Now people in many countries of the world are envious of our form of socialism, calling it a model of socialism and a unique socialism. Reality graphically proves that the Juche idea on which our socialism is based is the greatest ideology. We must feel the greatest honor and happiness to have the great Juche idea as our ideological foundation of socialism, fully equip ourselves with this idea, defending and implementing it to the letter. In this regard, it is important to understand the originality and superiority of Juche idea, the revolutionary idea of the great leader Comrade Kim Il-sung. Long ago, I said we must put the main emphasis on originality, while viewing it in context with the derivations, the understanding of the correlation between the Juche idea and Marxism-Leninism. This means that we should put the main stress on its originality when we view the Juche idea, revolutionary idea of their great leader. The Juche idea must not be viewed as a simple inheritance and development of Marxism-Leninism. It should be viewed as a new and original idea. That we should see originality in context with derivations and understanding means that the Juche idea is not an idea which contrasts with Marxism-Leninism, and that the historical achievements of Marxism-Leninism must be acknowledged. We acknowledge the historical achievements of the dialectical materialism of Marxism, as it smashed the reactionary, idealistic, and metaphysical world outlook. But do not view it as a perfect philosophy of the working class. We appraise the historical achievements of Marxism-Leninism, as it proved the inevitability of the fall of capitalism and the triumph of socialism, and clarified the idea and theory on building a classless ideal society free of exploitation and oppression. But we do not see it as the perfect communist revolutionary theory of the working class. As a matter of course, we have so far not spoken much about the limitations of Marxism-Leninism. But today, when its limitations are more and more evident, it is necessary to bring them home to our officials. Only then can they fully understand the originality and superiority of the Juche idea, revolutionary idea of the leader, make it firmer their conviction on our style of socialism based on the Juche idea. The revolutionary idea created by the great leader Comrade Kim Il-sung is an integrated system of idea, theory, and method of Juche. It is a completely original idea that can be called only in association with the august name of the leader. The Juche idea created by the great leader is an original revolutionary philosophy. The first philosophy of the working class was created by Marx. This philosophy is a critical inheritance and development of preceding philosophies. By discarding what was unscientific and reactionary in the preceding materialism and dialectics, and by inheriting and developing a reasonable core, Marx created dialectical materialism. By applying it to social history, he clarified historical materialism. He directed his main efforts to critically examining the existing philosophical theories, so as to free the working class, which was making a fresh appearance on the historical stage, from the outdated and reactionary outlook on the world. He gave scientific answers to questions of correlation between matter and consciousness, and between being and thinking, which until then had yet to be resolved despite repeated debates. On this basis, he developed his philosophical theory. Entering the era of independence, history required that the outlook of the world of the working class be made perfect in an original way. The essential feature of this era of independence was that the masses of the people appeared as masters of their own destiny. The era required that the position and role of humanity as the master of their own destiny be correctly defined in the field of philosophy. The Juche philosophy, reflecting this requirement, newly presented the position and role of humanity in the world as the fundamental question of philosophy. Needless to say, Juche philosophy includes the necessary principles of dialectical materialism of Marxism. However, it is an original philosophy in that it presented, to start with, a new fundamental question of philosophy and systematized its structural system and content. The Juche philosophy, by elucidating the philosophical principle that humanity is the master of everything and decides everything, gave the most correct answer to the question of humanity's position and role in the world. The philosophical principle of Juche has brought about a fresh change in the view of social history. The creators of Marxism set as their main task overcoming the idealistic and metaphysical view of social history which served to justify the reactionary exploiting system, and applying the materialistic dialectical principles to the field of social history. They clarified that society, like nature, exists objectively, and it changes and develops according to the general law governing the development of the material world. They, however, failed to elucidate the essential differences between the movement of nature and social movement, and the law inherent in the socio-historical movement. The new era implies that the most important requirement for making the view of social history of the working class perfect is to clarify the law peculiar to social historical movement, whose motive force is the working masses. This historic task was filled with credit by Juche philosophy. The Juche philosophy, by applying to social history the philosophical principle that humanity is the master of everything and decides everything, gave a fresh light to the principle that the masses are the motive force of history, and socio-historical movement is an independent, creative, and conscious movement of the masses. Philosophical principle of Juche that humanity is the master of everything and decides everything, the socio-historical principle of Juche, its embodiment, are based on the scientific elucidation of the essential features of humanity. For the first time in history, the Juche idea clarified that humanity is a social being with independence, creativity, and consciousness. And on this basis, it indicated the most correct road to carving out humanity's destiny. The great leader created the Juche idea not simply for the sake of elucidation of a new philosophical theory, but in order to show our people the most correct road to carving out their destiny. The whole course of the Korean Revolution was to apply the Juche idea. The basic key to how our socialism has been consolidated and developed to be the most superior lies in the fact that we have applied this idea. The originality and superiority of the Juche idea is clearly demonstrated in the advantage of our style of socialism. Basic advantage of our form of socialism is that it is human-centered, a society which considers everything with humanity at the center and makes everything serve them. This advantage is defined by Juche idea, a human-centered idea. Our socialism has splendidly applied the intrinsic requirements of humanity as an independent social being. Humanity, as an independent social being, is by nature desirous of living and developing independently, free from all manner of subjugation. The social movement aims to achieve the independence of the masses of the people, and the development of society means that the struggle of the masses of the people to achieve independence is intensified. This is an essential character of social movement. Since it viewed social history with the main stress on the objective material and economic conditions, Marxism considered the development of society to be the history of replacement of the mode of production, taking place by the law of adaptation of the relations of production to the character of the productive forces. Now, I just want to point out this is actually really important to understand here because this is the main thing, or I don't want to say the necessarily main thing, but this is a huge thing that reactionary, quote unquote, patriotic socialists use in order to justify some of their incorrect perspectives. One of their main points is that they will literally make the point that the US is basically socialist. All that needs to change is the relations of the relations of production to the character of the productive forces. That this is the only thing that's missing. According to this opinion, one can understand that revolution is carried out with the main when a socialist mode of production has been established, and therefore it is concluded when there remains only the work to consolidate and develop the socialist mode of production. This can be said to be one of the reasons why the Marxist-Leninist classics failed to provide details for the continuous revolution, for the building of communism after the triumph of the socialist revolution. Even though they gave much. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this part is actually really important too. I'm going to start here again, one more second. I just noticed what I'm reading here. This can be said to be one of the reasons why the Marxist-Leninist classics fail to provide details for the continuous revolution for building of communism after the triumph of revolution. And you can see how they're not blaming it on theory themselves or on Marx themselves, right? Like, even because as you see, they're saying even though they gave much emphasis to the continuous revolution from bourgeois democratic revolution to socialist revolution, the principle of Marxist materialistic view on history cannot give a correct answer to the question of revolution after the establishment of the socialist system. Socialist construction shows in practice that the advantages of socialism cannot be given full play, and the masses' cause for independence cannot be accomplished unless revolution is carried on in the field of ideology and culture after the establishment of the socialist system. The Juche idea clarified anew that all forms of revolutionary struggle are those of the masses to win their independence, and that revolution must be carried on until independence of the working masses is fully achieved. By doing so, it gave a scientific solution to the question of continuous revolution in the socialist society. The independence of the masses is fully achieved when outdated relations of production are abolished, and when the masses are completely freed not only from socio-political subjugation, but also from the fetters of nature and outdated ideology and culture. With the establishment of the socialist system, the masses are freed from socio-political subjugation, but they are still bound by the shackles of nature and outdated ideology and culture. This is ascribable mainly to the remnants of the old society. Even after the establishment of the socialist system, there remains backwardness in the fields of ideology, technology, and culture. The vestiges of old society for a certain period This constitutes the main obstacle in fully meeting the demand of the masses for independence. In order to eliminate the remnants of the old society after the establishment of the socialist system, revolution must be carried on in the fields of ideology, technology, and culture. Holding high the banner of continuous revolution, our party and people are carrying out to the letter the line of three revolutions: ideological, technological, and cultural. They are thus strengthening, without let up, the independent position they have taken up and are accomplishing with credit the cause of the masses for independence. Our socialism is splendidly applying the intrinsic requirements of humanity, a creative social being. Humanity, a social being whose intrinsic nature is independence and creativeness, is desirous of living and developing, not only in an independent way, but also in a creative way. Humanity performs creative activities to transform nature and society, and constantly fosters their creative ability. Marxism did not pay due attention to the question of improving the creative ability and role of the masses, because it considered the development of society to be a natural history process, which follows the objective laws, mainly the law of development of the material and economic conditions. Attaching decisive importance to material production and the social and economic relations in the activities of social humanity. Needless to say, humanity draws on the objective laws in transforming nature and society, but they do not merely adapt themselves to the laws. They recognize and make use of them on their own initiative. They have inexhaustible creative ability to transform nature and society, to meet their demand for independence by drawing on the objective laws. Humanity's ability to transform the world is limited in a particular period of history. However, this creative ability and role of humanity is being continuously enhanced. The development of society is attained in the long run with the improvement of the masses' creative ability and role. Dungan is absolutely a reactionary, whatever. Insert insult here. The working class party must pay deep attention to understanding the objective laws and making good use of them by improving humanity's creative ability and their role. Socialist construction shows in practice that revolution and construction cannot be successful if the work of improving the creative ability and role of humanity is not performed efficiently. We have channeled great efforts to this work and found a correct solution to it, and as a result, all the working people are forcefully pushing ahead with revolution and construction, with the awareness of being masters of the revolution and with a high creative ability. Our socialism gives the fullest play to the consciousness of humanity, a conscious social being. Consciousness is an important attribute of humanity, and it guarantees their independence and creativity. Throughout history, there have been sharp arguments between the progressive and the reactionary on the issue of consciousness. Idealists made the spirit absolute and mystic, as if it was an entity that exists independently of the material being. Materialists, in opposition to idealism, insisted that the spirit is a reflection of the material world. Theory of reflection was an advance in opposing mystification of spirit, but it could not be a scientific clarification of the role of consciousness. Marx made it clear that social consciousness is determined by social beings. Aha, ad break. Drinking Coca-Cola time. Yeah, not Nats, Bowls, or National Bolsheviks. A reactionary form of nationalism that has you like championing like bourgeois false bourgeois nationalism, which, like, something I think that we'll get into eventually is how Kim Jong Il points out how really, like, these want to be imperialists and stuff are never actually nationalists, right? They just use that in order to push their own bullshit. Dungan's Wikipedia hole is not a fun one. I mean, he's connected to the LaRoucheites, who of course are praised by the likes of Midwestern Marx and Caleb Mopin and all these motherfuckers. They're all connected to that LaRoucheite money. You're either in on the LaRoucheite money, you're either part of the grift, or you are fooled by the grift, right? Because it's fucking it's entertain like they're very entertaining and very like flashy about it. You know what I mean? They're engaging in a reactionary populism, trying to tail the ideas that already exist and appealing to it. But they are absolutely boosted by the state. Like that's what LaRoucheite organizations are, right? There's some serious funding being pumped into some of them. I mean, I mean, these LaRoucheite organizations unelectable. All kinds of these like LaRoucheite orgs that are like fucking getting like triple the three-letter agency money from fucking like some kind of fucking backdoor deals. Like I invite people to look into Hinkle's history in particular. Right, we are back from the ad. Yeah, these LaRoucheites, like, I mean, the whole LaRoucheite think tanks and shit. I wish I had that. I still have to find that graphic again. I had a graphic that showed like the Schiller Institute, the LaRoucheite organizations, how which ones are all connected to each other. I fucking posted it so long ago now, though. List of extremist anti-abortion activities. No, UK is fucking so bad. They have two terrible communist parties in the UK. Unfortunately. Oh, I forgot to do my goals today. Hey NTC, welcome in. Oh, the two communist parties there are just what the fuck? You know? What the fuck's happening? There. I get why people call it Turf Island. I'll just say that much. Right, we will continue our read here. I mean, the more that I mean, that's the thing about why we need a strong communist party and to build a strong united movement, right? Lesbian hot sauce, because at the end of the day, the more we threaten capital, the more the reactionaries are going to react to the prospect of develop a prospect of the advance of social history or realization of the masses' independence. If you want to, since we're reading Juche. I mean, they do love the C. He used to love CPGBTML. Fuck that party so bad. I mean, they're both bad, but that one's fucking what the fuck. All right. Materialists, in opposition to idealism, insisted that the spirit is a reflection of the material world. The theory of reflection was an advance in opposing the mystification of spirit. But it could not be a scientific clarification of the role of consciousness. Marx made it clear that social consciousness is determined by social beings, and the former actively reacts to the latter. But he failed to clarify the decisive role of ideological consciousness in humanity's activities. The Juche idea clarified for the first time that the ideological consciousness plays the decisive role in the activities of humanity.
I've got some literature in my car that will change your whole way of thinking.
And Sam, thank you so much for the resubscription. Let's see those Juche gang emotes. Thank you, comrade. Appreciate that. Humanity's activities are conducted under certain material conditions, and consciousness reflects the material world. But the role of consciousness is not confined to reflecting the material world and reacting to it. Consciousness determines all activities of humanity. Ideological consciousness is the basis of all thinking and activities of humanity. It plays the decisive role in humanity's cognitive activities and practice. Humanity has the consciousness of independence, and for this reason he volitionally understands the objective world and performs creative activities. The role of ideological consciousness is determined by its character and content. Determined by the character and content of ideological consciousness are all the activities of humanity, standpoint and attitude, method and style of work, way of life, etc. The ideological consciousness of independence, the revolutionary ideological consciousness, defends independence, propels the revolutionary struggle, transform nature and society on revolutionary lines, whereas the reactionary ideological consciousness infringes upon the independence of the masses, holds back social progress. The decisive factor of victory and success in the revolutionary struggle is the organized efforts of the masses, who are equipped with revolutionary ideological consciousness. The historical fact that revolution emerged victorious in those countries in which the objective material conditions were less mature proves that the decisive forces that propels the revolution is the revolutionary ideological consciousness of the masses. The fact that revolution broke out not where capitalism was most developed, but in fact where capitalism in many places was barely developed, proves that this is absolutely the case. The role of humanity's ideological consciousness is further improved in socialist society, where the masses have become the masters of society. As ideological consciousness determines all actions of humanity, priority should be given to the work of remolding their ideology in order to dynamically accelerate the revolution and construction. The most positive method of remolding humanity's ideology is the ideological revolution. To carry out the ideological revolution is the law-governed requirement of socialist society and communist construction, aka re-education. And it is the most important revolutionary task of the party and state of the working class after the establishment of a socialist system. As Che said, the job of socialist society is to be turned into one gigantic school. The driving force of the revolution can be incomparably strengthened, and the cause of revolution and communism will be achieved with success when all members of society are freed from the subjugation of all hues of outdated ideology. So we have to overcome defeatism, flunkyism, dogmatism, homophobia, transphobia, racism, sexism, right? All of these outdated ideas we have to have an active revolutionary struggle against all of them until we have eradicated them completely. And until then, we can't just expect them all to disappear. We have to wage active ideological revolution against all of them. And that's the thing, right? That is the mistake. Like, I think, like the mistake that Marxist-Leninist countries in the past made in Eastern Europe. They basically failed to focus on the ideological revolution, thinking that because they built this socialist system and because humanity's consciousness is a reflection of the social system, that therefore they would simply become socialist people from living under that system. And neglected as a result ideological education and ideological development. I think this is also like a mistake that I think many anarchists make as well, in thinking that we talked about this yesterday too, in thinking that, okay, because we want to carry out a revolution, and because our revolution is against the existing authority, our revolution is actually anti-authority. But that leaves out the fact that you're not going to have like there's no way of you enforcing that definition on anybody else, and you're not just going to be able to like have a whole bunch of people accept this definition, or like enough people to actually carry out a revolution to accept this definition when they're also being influenced by the people around them who are not revolutionarily conscious, who are not radicalized, by the education system, so on and so forth, right? And that's a serious problem. So, regardless of what you call your revolution, if it's suppressing the bourgeoisie who have enormous social influence, they're going to call it authoritarian, and we're going to have to wrestle with the fact that it'll be called that, and so be it. We will not make excuses for the terror, to quote Karl Marx, right? So that point has to be wrestled with, and then the other part that has to be wrestled with in regards to anarchism is just the simple fact that we have to maintain and we have to fight against all of these backwards ideological ideas while maintaining state control. And why you need to have state control, and that doesn't mean we take hold of the existing state. The reason you need state control is because that's what allows you to have the ideological apparatus to re-educate people. Without that, the only way you can re-educate is simply on like this, on a small scale, that when it reaches a certain size will be fought against and defeated. Hope that makes sense. But like, yeah, to have the education system, you need to have power. And it's not a matter of the party having power or the small group of vanguard revolutionaries having power. It's about keeping the people in power. And this is the thing, right? When we talk about dictatorship of the proletariat, we're not talking about a dictator chosen by the proletariat or something like this. We're talking about a dictatorship whereby the people themselves are the dictators of the society, which is why Juche. I like that Juche rewords it in a way to that the masses are the masters of the revolution. The driving force of the revolution can be incomparably strengthened, and the cause of socialism and communism will be achieved with success when all members of society are free from subjugation of all hues of outdated ideology, fully ready to become communist revolutionaries through the ideological revolution. Since ideological revolution since ideological consciousness plays the decisive role in humanity's actions, conflict in the field of ideology always constitutes the basis of conflict between the progressive and the reactionary, between revolution and counter-revolution. We have to identify which trends of thought, which things are serving the reaction, and which things are serving revolution. And again, it's not to try and attack people who call themselves anarchist or something like this, but it's just the simple fact that anarchism as an ideology, the Western, that has its roots in the European philosophy, etc., is unfortunately serves the counter revolution and has historically. That's not to say that all your efforts in your local area or whatever is counter revolutionary. That's not what I'm saying. Lots of anarchists do fantastic work. But what I am saying is that the philosophy itself has been a counter revolutionary force. Since ideological consciousness plays the decisive role in humanity's actions, conflict in the field of ideology always constitutes the basis of conflict between progressive and reactionary, between revolution and counter-revolution. And even the most well-meaning people, right, can serve the counter-revolution unwittingly, thinking that they're doing good, but at the same time leaving something open for imperialists to attack or something. This is possible even within, as we know, our own communist, Marxist-Leninist, scientific socialist movements themselves. We have to fight against those elements as well. The vicious attempts of the imperialists to infiltrate corrupt bourgeois ideology into the socialist countries is aimed at bringing about a disintegration of socialism from the interior by impairing the ideological foundation of socialism. Remember, this is from 1990. Soviet Union was overthrown in what, 1991? December 26th of December 1991. This is like a year or so before that. I can't remember what month it said it was at. The most powerful weapon with which to smash the anti-socialist machinations of the imperialists is the revolutionary ideological consciousness of the masses. Nevertheless, several countries neglected the ideological work and overlooked the infiltration of bourgeois ideology of the past. This resulted in jeopardizing the cause of socialism. Historical experience shows that the more the imperialists scheme to infiltrate reactionary bourgeois ideology into socialist countries, the harder these countries must struggle to prevent its infiltration and to equip all members of the society with revolutionary ideology. We have conducted ideological revolution dynamically under the leadership of the party, so that the whole society is brimming over with the revolutionary spirit of Juche. As a result, all manner of machinations by the imperialists and reactionaries to introduce bourgeois ideology into our ranks have been completely crushed, and our socialism is able to give full play to its vitality. Our socialism brilliantly embodies the collectivist demand of humanity, a social being. Humanity is a social being who lives and acts in social relationships. Humanity, as a social being, can successfully shape their destiny only within the social collective. Again, if you look at that, if you remember the Kwame Ture Speaks thing right at the 10-minute mark, just to show that this is not simply a conclusion that Juche idea understands, but this is a scientific conclusion that many scientific socialists arrive at. Simply that Juche idea has made it a part of a completely formulated, systematized philosophy that examines humanity's position and role in the dialectical materialist world, and therefore examines social history from a new light as a result, with the masses as the agents of change. Our socialism brilliantly embodies the collectivist demand of humanity as social being. Humanity as a social being can successfully shape their destiny only within the social collective. So collectivism becomes their intrinsic demand. Independence, creativity, and consciousness of humanity can only be brought into full play on the basis of collectivism. Defining humanity's essential quality as an ensemble of social relations, Marx clarified that humanity is a being who lives in social relations, but he failed to define that humanity as a member of the social collective regards collectivism as their intrinsic demand. And by the way, this is reflected in a lot of the ways that you see some Marxists still like say that the idea that humanity has no nature, right? In opposition to, of course, the bourgeois idea that human nature is always greedy and self serving and individualist. I think humanity does have a nature, and while human nature is, of course, malleable, to say that humanity has no nature makes no sense. Well, it's like clay, because even clay has a nature. You know? Everything does. And I think collectivism is an intrinsic nature of humanity. And that humanity, like Kwame Ture points out and many others, humanity simply cannot exist without collectivism. And that contradiction is an extremely dangerous one for humanity's existence. And that at the end of the day, to overcome reactionary ideology, collectivism in a society based on full collectivism, real collectivism, is absolutely necessary for humanity's sustainable development. Exactly, lesbian hot sauce. The Juche idea elucidated for the first time that humanity can lead a worthwhile life and play their creative role only in the social collective. By doing so, it puts a new light on humanity's collectivist demand. A worthwhile life for humanity is to live for the social collective. Humanity, a member of the social collective, feels their worth in life and is able to enjoy the love and trust of their collective by performing their responsibility and the role assigned by the collective. To infringe upon the interests of the collective and to display greed in seeking one's own happiness in disregard of the social collective is, in fact, not different from the actions of animals, and even many of them. But again, if you think that this is untrue, I please invite you to watch that from the 10 look at the 10-minute mark of that Kwame Ture speech again. This is absolutely what Kwame Ture is also speaking about in that. Collectivism is humanity's need to lead a worthwhile life as a member of the social collective. It is also a fundamental requirement to strengthen the might of the social collective, the might of the masses. Because let's think about it this way, actually. Yeah, this is this is the thing, right? Other animals, they accept their certain social orders, right? They don't live in the sort of in the same. They don't live as a social being because they don't demand equality like humanity does. While like animals that live in complex group lives have their roles and serve their purposes and such, they don't live and demand an equality and are able to cognize that demand for equality and independence and enhance it and recognize that while this was an advance in that demand, this isn't the end of that. This is not a fully realized demand. Collectivism is humanity's need to lead a worthwhile life as a member of the social collective. It is also a fundamental requirement to strengthen the might of the social collective. The might of the masses, the driving force of the social movement, depends on how they display collectivism. Unless they are united, they cannot display their might as the motive force of the revolution. An individual can become a member of the collective, but he cannot become the driving force of the revolution, which takes charge of the social movement, pushes it forward. Humanity can transform nature and society with success and achieve independence to the full, not on an individual basis, but through the effort of the collective. The powerful motive force of the social movement is the masses who are united on the basis of collectivism. In the past, people displayed the spirit of collective resistance in the struggle against foreign aggressors and the exploiting classes. They also showed the fine traits of improving their difficult living conditions by united efforts. Nevertheless, collectivism could not be popularized as a social ideology in an exploiting society, which is based on private ownership. And this is again what I was saying before about a problem with anarchism. You have a problem of not being able to popularize collectivism in an exploiting society. And this is why whenever you see it, it's like the imagination with anarchism, and the reason why I moved personally away from anarchism myself was because when you started to, every theory is essentially like, well, if we can get people to believe this, if we can get people to all agree to this definition, when it's like, really what we really need is a solid core of people who are revolutionarily conscious, who can get people behind a movement for land, bread, etc. A leadership that understands the direction forward, like coming, of course, from the people who have experienced fighting against this. In our case, in the West, that is the colonized people, the most exploited and oppressed people anywhere are going to be naturally the ones who have a greater knowledge of the current struggle they are engaged in, because they are more militantly engaged in that struggle. So, anyway, nevertheless, collectivism could not be popularized as a social ideology in the exploiting society, which is based on private ownership. In particular, the reactionary ruling class, fearing the unity of the people, restrained collectivism from being displayed among the masses, and instead inculcated individualism. Collectivism, which is in accordance with the intrinsic demand of humanity as social being, became an ideology of the working class in tandem with the appearance of the working class on the stage of history, and it became a dominant ideology in socialist society. That socialism is a society based on collectivism is a fundamental advantage of socialism over capitalism. By nature, socialism must be developed in the direction of enhancing collectivism. Only then can the creative ability of the masses be brought into full play, their independence be completely achieved. Practical experience shows that if collectivism is not enhanced to suit the intrinsic demand of socialist society, and if instead individualism is fostered, it would entail the grave consequences of jeopardizing the development of socialism. That socialist society is based on collectivism does not mean that it ignores the interests of individuals. Not only the interests of the collective, but also those of individuals are valued in socialist society. They are consistent with each other. The interests of the collective incorporate the interests of the individual. Collectivism is not opposed to the interests of individuals, but to the violation of the interests of the collective for the sake of individual interests. Collectivism requires that precedence be given to the interests of the collective. A socialist society which regards humanity as the most precious being by applying the Juche idea respects the interests of both the collective and the individuals, and grants the utmost benefits to everyone. collectivism reaches its noblest high in the socio-political organism. That is, unity of the party, the leader, the party, and the masses. The socio-political organism, collectivism is displayed on the basis of single-hearted unity. Solid unity in ideology, purpose, morality, and duty of the party and the masses with the leader, who represent the will of the social collective at the center. All the working people in our country are firmly equipped with the Juche idea, devote themselves to the party and the leader. To the country and the people, united single-heartedly around the party and the leader. And this single-hearted unity and this this single purpose and ideology and purpose and morals means that the leader, who comes from among the masses, also shares these same goals, the same ideology, the same purpose. Unlike in the West, where our leaders have a different purpose and a different ideology. The great advantage of our socialism finds its expression in the fact that all members of society are fully equipped with the Juche idea and lead independent and creative lives to their heart's content, helping and leading one another forward as they are united single-heartedly around the party and the leader. All facts clearly demonstrate that the most advantageous socialism that suits the intrinsic demand of humanity can be developed only when socialism is built on the basis of the Juche idea. The revolutionary theory created by the great leader is the perfect revolutionary theory of communism. Marxism-Leninism has limitations not only in the outlook on the world, but also in the theory of socialism and communism. It is not easy to clarify what a communist society, an ideal society of humanity, is. Moreover, it was difficult to go beyond the limits of prediction and supposition in clarifying the aspects of communism in a capitalist society, since no country had raised the building of socialism and communism as a practical problem. Welcome in, Barry. Hope you are well, comrade. Living in a capitalist society, Marx analyzed its contradictions, and on this basis proved the inevitability of the fall of capitalism and the transition to socialism, and put forward the revolutionary theory on the overthrow of capitalism. Lenin analyzed the crisis and the contradictions of imperialism, when capitalism reaches the stage of monopoly. On this basis, he elucidated the possibility of the victory of socialism in one country, and put forward the revolutionary theory on the establishment of a socialist system. The founders of Marxism-Leninism, however, failed to expound a complete theory on socialism and communism owing to the limitations of their days. For them, making the theory on socialism and communism perfect was not raised as an immediate practical issue, and they had no practical experience to do so. For the first time in the world, Lenin organized and led to victory the proletarian revolution, and by generalizing the experiences developed Marxism. However, his experience was too limited for him to put forward a perfect theory on socialism and communism itself. The present historical condition is fundamentally different from what it was when the founders of Marxism-Leninism were active. Not a few countries have carried out the socialist revolution, conducted socialist construction, and gained various experiences. The experiences acquired through building socialism in several countries incorporate not only successes, but also lessons in failure. They include excellent achievements as well as mistakes. All these experiences and lessons, when analyzed, summed up, and generalized, are the basis for completing the revolutionary theory of communism. Socialism and communism differ from each other in their degree of development and maturity, but they are the same type of society that rests upon common socio-political, economic, and ideological foundations. Socialism, a low stage of communism, has communist characters as its essential features. So the course of
The People's Revolution!
and I love this part because this is what Marx defines socialism as.
Let's go,
right?
Smokes. Let's go, Smokes.
Right away. Thank you, comrade. Marx literally defines socialism as the lower stage of communism. Socialism, a low stage of communism, has communist characters as its essential features. So the course of further developing and perfecting the socialism is immediately the course of building communism. We can say that today's conditions have become mature enough to complete the revolutionary theory of communism, by generalizing the practical experiences gained in building socialism. The historical task of completing the revolutionary theory of communism was fulfilled with credit in our era by the great leader as he elucidated the Juche-oriented theory and method of leadership. All right, let me grab my little puffer here. Second. You know, I'm not just going to leave you in silence. Harry wouldn't do that. I'm just going to throw on some background music for you while I just go grab my greenery. Okay, let me grab my green.
믿고 살 운명의 하늘 되시오 의지할 마음의 기둥 되시오 언제나 우리와 함께 계시며 희망을 주고 새 힘 주신 분 우리 행복 김정은 동지 우리 욕망 김정은 동지 일일이 그품이 살린 우리 김정은 동지 천만을 아르신 어머니 되어 지혜를 주신 스승이 되어 온 나라 대가정 보살피시며 인민의 낙원 힘내시는 분 우리 행복 김정은 동지 우리 욕망 김정은 동지 일일이 그품이 살린 우리 김정은 동지
Thank you for the 4th redemption, comrade.
인민을 지키는 장군 되시오 온 세상 밝히는 태양 되시오 위대한 강국의 전함 주시고 찬란한 미래 펼치시는 분 우리 행복 김정은 동지 우리 영광 김정은 동지
GMO.
그품이 살린 우리 김정은 동지 랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄랄 김정은 동지
Go. Thanks for that. The revolutionary theory of communism he created by applying the Juche idea is A revolutionary theory developed with the working masses at the center, and revolutionary strategy and tactics based on their role. It is a perfect revolutionary theory of communism which comprehensively expounds the theories on national liberation, class emancipation, and humanity's freedom, and the theories on the transformation of society, nature, and man. And to clarify, when he's saying it's a perfect theory, he means perfect for this era. Thanks to the revolutionary theory of Juche created by the great leader, the theories on the anti-imperialist national liberation revolution and the anti-feudal democratic revolution and the socialist revolution were systematized in an original way. And new theories on building socialism and communism were expounded in a comprehensive way. Marxist-Leninist theory on building socialism and communism was put into a state of serious confusion by opportunists. Consequently, confusion arose in socialist construction, and socialism experienced severe pains and setbacks in several countries. This theoretical and practical problem, which the Times presented as an acute requirement, could be solved with credit by the great leader. His revolutionary theory on building socialism and communism clarifies comprehensively the views of communist society, the law-governed course to society, and the strategic goals in line of building socialism and communism. It includes the policies for struggle, the specific methods for all spheres of revolution and construction, as we discussed in the last work that we read. Oh damn, my thing died on me. Damn it. Well, that's poopy. Gotta plug my vaporizer in. Damn you, vaporizer. You let me down. You're dying while I was puffing you. Thanks to the Juche-oriented theory on the leadership method created by the great leader, all problems arising in leading the revolution and construction, ranging from the principle of leadership to the method of style of work, were expounded with perfection. Of particularly great significance is the fact that the method of leadership in building of socialism and communism was put in a new light and comprehensively systematized. The great leader created the theory on the leadership of the revolutionary work method, his own method of work, in the course of blazing the trail of the Korean Revolution and leading it to victory. They serve as the powerful weapon of victory for the cause of socialism and communism. Our party could thus achieve the single-hearted unity of the leader, the party, and the masses, dynamically accelerate the cause of socialism and communism. The ideology, theory, and method of Juche created by the great leader represents the most correct guiding ideology, guiding theory, and guided method for building socialism and communism in our era. The Juche ideology, theory, and method are the brilliant fruition of his gifted intelligence and the sum total of extremely rich and profound experiences he has accumulated. A new revolutionary idea and theory are not things that can be created by anybody because the change, time, and reality demand them. They are created only by a leader of the working class who is possessed with outstanding knowledge. Only such a person can put forward a new ideology, theory, and method by generalizing the experiences gained in the revolutionary movement. They do this with deep insight into the requirements of the times and the aspirations of the people, and they can continuously enrich them in the course of applying them to reality and bring them to perfection. The great leader in his early years created the immortal Juche idea by embracing the demands of the era of independence and the aspirations of the masses for independence, and by applying this idea accumulated rich practical experiences and priceless achievements in all fields of revolution and construction. In the course of wisely leading all forms of social revolution and construction work for over 60 years, the great leader scored the most profound and richest practical experiences and achievements, and, by generalizing them, perfected the Juche idea, theory, and method in a comprehensive way. The actual situation of our times testifies to the fact that the cause of socialism can be led to brilliant victory only on this basis. For their truthfulness and viability, the Juche ideology, theory, and method are recognized as the most correct guiding ideology, guiding theory, and guiding method of the revolution and construction of our times. Studying Juche idea has become an irresistible trend. Marxism-Leninism is an ideological theory at the preceding stage of the development of the revolutionary ideology of the working class. One cannot, therefore, be successful in the revolution and construction if they cling to it, overlooking its historical limitations. It is now clear to everybody that one cannot build socialism properly by drawing on a theory that was put forward based on prediction and supposition a century ago. And that is, of course, referring here specifically to the theory of building socialism and communism. We must not deny the working class principle of Marxism-Leninism on the grounds that it has limitations. Its limitations are due, in the long run, to the conditions prevailing in that period and to its historical task. We must overcome its historical limitations, but not give up the working class principle that runs through it. To adhere to the revolutionary principle of the working class is a fundamental requirement of the revolutionary cause, to realize independence of the masses. Although Marxism-Leninism has limitations, and failed to clarify the specific ways for building socialism, those parties that are building socialism can prevent the degeneration of their class character if they correctly maintain the revolutionary principle of Marxism-Leninism. The imperialists and reactionaries are now fussing about the crisis of socialism, claiming that this means the collapse of Marxism-Leninism. Their slander on the creators of Marxism-Leninism is aimed at justifying their reactionary sophistry, that the ideal of socialism itself was incorrect from the outset, and that it was a mistake to have conducted socialist revolution to begin with. Modern revisionists, too, are making a fuss about mistakes revealed in socialist construction in the past, and slandering the founders of Marxism-Leninism, relating their mistakes to their idea. Originally, slandering the authority and dignity of the leaders of the working class constitutes the essence of the reactionary nature of revisionism. Modern revisionists are abusing Marxism-Leninism and its founders in an attempt to remove from the people's minds their faith in the socialist cause, pioneered by the leaders of the working class, and to justify their revolutionary scheme to regress to capitalism from socialism. Let's see those leaders of the working class. I know you got some emotes. Let's see those leaders of the working class emotes, comrades. That's what I would like right now. Here, look. I'll get you started.
I would have been friends with Stalin.
As for the mistakes revealed in socialist construction in some countries, their parties, which allow dogmatism and revisionism, not Marxism-Leninism and its founders, are to blame for them. The people who were said to have been building socialism guided by Marxism-Leninism in the past failed to put forward new revolutionary theories in step with the changed historical conditions, as they have applied Marxism-Leninism dogmatically. Dogmatic application of revolutionary theory of the working class means its derogation. The dogmatic attitude towards Marxism-Leninism further exposed the limitations of Marxism-Leninism and rendered it impossible to display the advantages of socialism to the full. In particular, modern revisionism abandoned the revolutionary principle of the working class and seriously affected socialist construction. Owing to the revisionist policy in several countries, their parties were not built up soundly, Their leadership role was paralyzed. Society lacked discipline and order. Class enemies cut a wide swath, and society degenerated ideologically from the influence of bourgeois liberalization. The after effect of dogmatism and revisionism in several countries was that socialism could not display its viability to the full. It gradually degenerated, and obstacles were created in socialist construction. Availing themselves of this opportunity, the imperialists, the reactionaries, resorted to unscrupulous schemes against socialism and, at their instigation and with the support, modern revisionists asserting social democracy, openly adopted the policy of returning to capitalism. Social democracy is an ideological trend of rightist opportunism. It appeared long ago. Opportunist ideologies of all hues, including social democracy, are reactionary trends of thought, which the imperialists and reactionaries made use of in earlier times to destroy the communist movement and the working class movement from within. The imperialists and reactionaries openly abused and slandered Marxism and ruthlessly suppressed the revolutionary working class movement. At the same time, they bribed and pulled strings with those in the high echelon of the working class movement, the degenerates and renegades of the revolution, in order to emasculate the revolutionary essence of Marxism. As a result, there appeared revisionism that tried to comprehensively revise Marxism and emasculate its essence to the liking of the imperialists and capitalists. Revisionism has several trends of thought, but its main ideological standpoint is to deny contradiction and struggle between the working class and the capitalist class, advocate class cooperation, and to negate the socialist revolution and proletarian dictatorship, giving prominence to election campaigns and parliamentary activities. Sound familiar, anyone? Does this sound like any social democrats that call themselves communists that you've heard of, maybe, in your local area? Perhaps? It also tries to emasculate the class character of the working class party, turn it into a reformist party, a powerless club for debate, embellish imperialism, and to oppose the anti-imperialist revolutionary struggle of the people. Communist Party Canada. Communist Party USA. Sorry. Sneezing fit there. My mistake. My bad. Excuse me. Bless me. Revisionism, an ideological trend of rightist opportunism, was frustrated by the struggle of the communists. But the trend has reappeared under various names, one being social democracy. It advocates the so-called Third Road. According to it, it aims under the signboard of statism and welfareism to achieve a high degree of growth and welfare, by combining the effectiveness, quote-unquote, of the capitalist economy with socialist public policy. This is a changed mask of the former opportunist social democracy that appeared in the early revolutionary movement of the working class against capital. An ideological trend which the renegades to the revolution espoused in their attempt to oppose revolutionary social democracy. Third Road is just fascism. Yes, exactly. The reactionary nature and absurdity of social democracy that asserts the Third Road has already been laid bare by history. Scores of years have passed since its appearance, but no country in the world has realized a welfare society along the Third Road. There are people who claim that the so-called social democracy has been realized. But such countries are none other than capitalist societies, in which the rich get ever richer and the poor get ever poorer. And bourgeois democracy holds dominant sway. In this contemporary world, There exist only two roads: socialism and capitalism. There cannot be anything like a third road. The third road, the road of social democracy, is the road to capitalism. Even though the reactionary nature of social democracy has been revealed thoroughly, modern revisionists have embellished it and are advocating it today. In order to realize their strategy against socialism, the imperialists are openly forcing the socialist countries to introduce bourgeois liberalization involving a multi-party system, capitalist private ownership, and the market economy. Rightist opportunism that serves their anti-socialist strategy is none other than modern social democracy. Socialist democracy that pursues socialist ideals in the revolutionary struggle of the working class against the oppression of capital was abused by opportunists in its early days, and today it is used as an anti-socialist means of the imperialists. As a result, it has become a synonym for the most despicable treachery to revolution and socialism. Hear that? Social democracy is the most despicable treachery to revolution and socialism, especially in our modern era. The reactionary nature of modern social democracy is that it attempts to destroy socialism and turn it back to capitalism. There is no difference between opportunistic social democracy of the past and modern social democracy in that they both pursue capitalism. The former plays the role of a brake, checking the revolutionary transition to socialism, whereas the latter plays the role of a guide, opening up the road to a peaceful transition of socialism to capitalism. In a word, the former is a trend of bourgeois reformism, while the latter is a trend of bourgeois restorationism. Modern social democracy, denying the leadership of the working class party and the unified guidance of the socialist state, advocates that it aims to build a humanitarian and democratic socialism in place of an administrative and bureaucratic socialism. Needless to say, socialism may have different specific features according to the guiding ideology it relies on and the methods of building and managing it. Alright, Bop, rest well, comrade. However, socialism is inconceivable separated from the political leadership of the working class party and the unified guidance of the socialist state, which are the fundamental principles of socialism. That socialism is developing in different forms is one thing, and that socialism is returning to capitalism is another thing. The former means that it is built and managed to suit the specific situation and national characteristics of each country, invariably maintaining the working class character. The advantages of different types of socialism may differ from one another according to their characteristics, but any type is superior to capitalism. Giving up the basic principles of socialism is nothing but degeneration in a capitalistic way, no matter whether it is called democratic socialism or humanitarian and democratic socialism. If a humanitarian and democratic quote-unquote socialism is to be built true to its word in place of an administrative and bureaucratic socialism, capitalistic method must not be introduced, and socialist principles must be applied more thoroughly. Originally, bureaucracy was a ruling method of outdated exploiting society. It has nothing in common with the intrinsic nature of socialist society. It is revealed in socialist society because the remnants of old society linger in the society. The introduction of a capitalist method does not eliminate bureaucracy. On the contrary, it revives bureaucracy. Oh, for 3-minute Coca-Cola drinking ad break. Hells yeah, brother. Oh, sorry, I gotta stretch. Oh, God. Firstly, it is not true that fascism is only the fighting organization of the bourgeoisie. Fascism is not only a military technical category. Fascism is the bourgeoisie's fighting organization that relies on the active support of social democracy. Social democracy is objectively the moderate wing of fascism. There is no ground for assuming that the fighting organization of the bourgeoisie can achieve decisive successes in battles or in governing the country without the active support of social democracy. There is just as little ground for thinking that social democracy can achieve decisive successes in battles or in governing the country without the active support of the fighting organization of the bourgeoisie. Fucking A. Thank you, Stalin. Oh, my fucking shoulder. Oh, I didn't actually set a goal for the follower count now either. We reached a whole new follower count. So, let's see. Okay, let's do this. Can we get it to... Okay, new follower goal too. Thank you all, you subscribers and comrades, for being here, by the way. Very much appreciate you all. I think we're getting near the end of this work. I think we're going to be able to just finish this whole work today, by the looks. $134 now.
I would have
Yeah.
been friends with Stalin.
Yeah. Look, it's almost done. We're going to be done this soon. I'm going to repeat this part when this ad is done in 10 seconds. Okay. Welcome back from the ad. If you want to avoid ads in the future, by the way, consider dropping a subscription or some gift subbies or some biddies in my channel. It's a great way to show your support if you like my work and want to see me able to continue to do this work. Of course, the more support I receive, the more I'm able to focus on this, less I have to find other methods of. You know. So appreciate you all. Of course, the best way that you can contribute to me is through PayPal. But if you prefer the Jeff Bezos officiated channels here on Twitch, or if that's more convenient for you, that's absolutely very much appreciated as well. Thank you for your consideration and your time, comrade. And now, back to our main feature presentation. The introduction of a capitalist method does not eliminate bureaucracy. On the contrary, it revives bureaucracy. Some people are now advocating democracy in opposition to the administrative bureaucratic style. But this is not new. It is merely a repetition of the reactionary sophistry of the revisionists and the Second International, who abused democratic centralism as a bureaucratic rule and prattled about pure supraclass democracy in opposition to proletarian dictatorship. This they did in an attempt to destroy the party, an organized unit. Modern social democracy is based on a bourgeois viewpoint and attitude towards social phenomena. It advocates unlimited freedom in social life and unbridled competition through the market, which means that such laws of the biological world as spontaneity and the struggle for existence should be applied in socialist society. It is, in essence, a reactionary viewpoint and attitude aimed at making the law of the jungle, the law of bourgeois society, function without restraint. Jack Bird. Modern social democracy reveals its reactionary nature in a concentrated way in its viewpoint and attitude towards humanity. It regards humanity as an instrument necessary for material production. Material production is needed for humanity. Humanity does not exist for the sake of material production. A developed machine, if it does not serve humanity, is nothing but a worthless scrap of iron. Nevertheless, some people do not hesitate to trample upon the basic rights of humanity for material production. It is explained in the simple fact that they advocate the use of unemployment as a means of pressure to increase labor intensity. The right to labor is a basic right of humanity. The socialism that deprives the working masses even of their labor right cannot become humanitarian and democratic socialism. To violate without mercy the working masses' right to labor is a phenomenon inherent to the exploiting society. Capitalists regard humanity as a commodity and an accessory of a machine. For them, the working masses become meaningful only when they bring about profit. Modern social democracy and bourgeois viewpoint both estimate humanity's value by means of money. Modern social democracy regards humanity as a being that pursues only the material desire of individuals, not as a being with ideological consciousness of independence. Some people claim that all forms of human relationship should be turned into that of a commodity, currency, insisting that the material incentive on individuals is absolute. To view humanity as a being that pursues only their material desire is wrong, and that it regards humanity as a mean being. Modern social democracy regards humanity as a being dominated by material and economic conditions, not as a powerful being possessed with creative ability. Proceeding from this point of view, some people try to find the basis of social development in the objective conditions, not in the work of training people into be powerful beings and enhancing their creativity, or thus restructuring the economic system. The viewpoint and attitude of modern social democracy towards social history is bourgeois viewpoint and attitude. Accordingly, the road of modern social democracy is not the road to socialist democracy. It is a road to bourgeois democracy and none other. Modern social democracy is an outcome of illusions about capitalism, out of the illusions about material prosperity of the developed capitalist countries. Some people have been seduced by it and are giving up the revolutionary principle. If anyone analyzes the conditions of history experienced in the developed capitalist countries, socialist countries, and their characteristics, they would never harbor such foolish illusions. The developed capitalist countries entered the road of capitalist development in an earlier period, whereas socialist countries were either those whose level of economic development was lower, or those were the colonies or semi-colonies. The former achieves material prosperity through merciless exploitation of the working masses and neo-colonial plunder of the Third World. However, the latter cannot do so. Socialist countries have incomparable advantages in economic development, but they are still relatively backward in the field of material life, compared to the developed capitalist countries. One cannot correctly distinguish the basic difference between socialism and capitalism if they consider only the present level of economic development in disregard of the characteristics of the developed capitalist countries and the socialist countries. And yet, some people, under illusions about capitalist society, see only its luxurious appearance, overlooking its exploitative nature and corruptness. They see only luxurious goods that cater to the abnormal tastes of the rich, failing to see the unemployed, beggars, and abandoned children wandering the streets. Modern social democracy is an outcome to the surrender to imperialists. The imperialists are threatening the socialist countries by means of nuclear weapons, on the one hand, and on the other hand, they are appeasing them with money.
It's all for one motherfucker and one motherfucker for all motherfuckers everywhere, you know what I'm saying?
Oh shit, Red Falcon, thank you for getting us started on our goal for the day by gifting a subby to Blatt. Very much appreciate that, comrade. Salute, thank you, that means a ton. Now, technically, I should actually set our sub goal to 7 because other people did subscribe before. But I say that because I started the goal. There you go, Blatt. You got the emotes, but you're back in the gang, Blatt. Unable to bear such pressures and appeasement, some people yielded one step after another, and in the end, they accepted the demand to give up socialist principles and introduce the capitalist method. A new way of thinking, quote unquote, which they claim is reactionary sophistry aimed at beautifying the imperialists, disarming themselves in front of them, and restoring capitalism by restructuring socialism to cater to the tastes of imperialism. Modern social democracy that opens up the road to a peaceful transition of socialism to capitalism will inevitably fail, just like the former opportunism of all hues. Although it is spread over several countries, a dangerous trend, it is doomed to fail. Revisionism that appeared in the Second International as an international trend of thought was spread over almost all the parties affiliated to the Second International, causing great difficulties and setbacks in the international communist movement, but it went bankrupt in the end. In the countries where modern social democracy holds sway, a great confusion is already taking place in all spheres of life. Democracy and the multi-party system are making political life reactionary. They have not made social life democratic. The working class party is being destroyed by political double dealers who have made their way into it, and various good-for-nothing political parties and organizations have raised their heads in opposition to socialism under the cloak of political pluralism. Misleading public opinion and taking command of parliament and government. Modern social democracy is aggravating disputes and conflicts. Oh shit. Thank you so much, Red Falcon, for dropping that bomb on us. Goddamn. Appreciate that. Goddamn, 9 gift subs. Well, that meets the goal. Fuck, Falcon. Are you shitting my pants right now? Are you actually shitting in my pants? I think that you are. Green Shift banned in one channel, including Rob Rousseau. Okay, well, you know, that's a little bit of a red flag, but we'll roll with it. Damn, Falcon. You did it. You shit my pants. Heel to Face, Soak Films, Harley, Ellis, Henny's, Hilltop, Braided Jade, Green Shift, and Mildred Seashells all got gifts. Thank you. You are him. Fuck. I'm gonna work at this. I'm gonna start at this part again, just so I can say political double dealers again. And good for nothing political parties. I wanna say that part again. The working class party is being destroyed by political double dealers who have made their way into it. And various good for nothing political parties and organizations have raised their heads in opposition to socialism under the cloak of political pluralism. Fuck the double dealers! Misleading public opinion and taking command of parliament and government. Modern social democracy is aggravating disputes and conflicts between nations and regions and splitting society. The capitalist market economy it introduced has caused decreased production, skyrocketing prices, mass unemployment, and a gap between the poor and the rich. Please keep in mind here, he's not talking about China, he's talking about Eastern Europe, okay? Just let's lay it on the table and be very clear about who he's talking about. And this is again 1990. This is before the official overthrow of USSR. unemployment, and a gap between the poor and the rich, making life more and more difficult for most of the people. Bourgeois liberalization, ushered in by glasnost and open door policy, is giving rise to various kinds of crime and a decadent bourgeois way of life. Immorality and depravity are rampant. This is the result of perestroika and reform policies pursued by modern social democrats. Reality is a strict judge. Yeah. Thank you, March. Glasnost means transparency and perestroika means rebuilding. Thank you. Appreciate the context of what those words mean. Reality is a strict judge. The crisis created artificially by modern social democracy clearly showed that any scheme to make a socialist society capitalistic under the cloak of social democracy cannot escape total bankruptcy. The counter-revolutionary nature of modern social democracy, which is negated in the socialist cause, the achievement gained at the cost of sweat and blood of the people, and smeared its history, luring the people with honeyed words, is being disclosed thoroughly. The people who were enticed by modern social democracy are gradually becoming aware of its true colors. They were growing vocal in their curse of it. Modern social democracy is being denounced by genuine revolutionaries, by the people of the socialist countries, and the progressive people of the world. Denounced social democracy! Although modern social democracy, instigated by the imperialists, is inflicting tremendous losses upon the people's cause for independence, socialism will endure the suffering and continue to open up the road to victory. No force can check the people's aspiration for independence and advance to socialism. Socialism is not someone's invention. It is the wish and aspiration of humanity. It is a law in the development of history that human society advances towards socialism. People have for ages wished for a new society of independence in which everyone leads an equally affluent life, free from exploitation and oppression, and their wish is getting more intense with the passage of time. Where there is exploitation and oppression, there is always resistance. Capitalism cannot realize the wish of the masses to lead an independent life, equal life, even though it can develop economically. It is not the resistance of the working masses against exploitation and oppression weakens with the increase of material wealth. Sorry, let me say that part again. It is not that the resistance of the working masses against exploitation and oppression weakens with an increase in material wealth. The material wealth created by humanity has increased along with history, but the people's struggle against exploitation and oppression has been intensified. This is an inevitable outcome of the development of the exploiting society where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. The material prosperity of capitalism will increase antagonism between the rich and the poor, precipitating bottomless political and economic crisis for imperialism and capitalism. If the imperialists and their followers continue to attempt to enforce the peaceful transition of socialism to capitalism, they will face a stronger resistance from the people. The people of today are not those of yesterday, who wished for socialism and knew socialism only by theory. They have experienced through their practical lives the advantages of a socialist system which is free from exploitation and oppression. True revolutionaries and the people who are being awakened to their consciousness as the days go by will not convey at the machinations of the imperialists and their followers. They will raise their voice. I started to tear up there. Sorry. Had to stop myself. they will raise their voices in denunciation and pursue an active struggle against them. They want those countries which are maintaining the revolutionary principle in their struggle against the machinations of imperialists and their followers to continue to advance along the road of socialism. In particular, they expect a great deal from us and trust us as we build socialism centered on the masses, ensuring the continuity of the revolutionary cause under the unfurled banner of the Juche idea, and earnestly hope that we bring the advantages of socialism into fuller play. Building our style of socialism more successfully is a lofty historic mission entrusted to us, not only for the prosperity of our motherland and the happiness of our people, but also for the ultimate victory of the cause of independent humanity, the socialist cause. Bearing this in mind, we must fully equip ourselves with the Juche idea, the ideological foundation of socialism of our own style, and apply it in a thoroughgoing fashion to accelerate the revolution and construction more dynamically. There you go. That's our read for today. What did we think about that one? On some ideological problems of the ideological foundation of socialism. Hell yeah, Cinnamon, hell yeah. So our next read in this compilation is going to be on having a correct viewpoint and understanding of the Juche philosophy.